Going?
Good evening. Pretty good, not too bad. I only just got done catching up on legislation readings and commentary.
Oh, love that.
From like about a week ago. Yeah, this has been a lot.
Jesus, okay.
Yep. That PD drama is something else. So there's that.
Oh, God, is there more? Fucking hell.
I don't think it stops. The best way I can put it is it's like it's very high school.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and I can't handle high school. That's the issue.
They're just a bunch of toddlers. Like, there's a bunch of toddlers hopped up on sugar
Yeah.
that get pissed off when you take away their toys.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
And
It's why I left LSPD and then left BCSO.
Jesus fucking Christ. I sometimes feel like I'm the commissioner now. Not because I want to, genuinely. But they don't know how to communicate. They look after their friends instead of the city. And their own offices. And simple, like, logical connections can't be made. I don't know. It's been something else.
I mean, to be honest with you, somebody has to do it because marshals don't do that anymore. And I think that, unfortunately, PD needs a guiding hand. Like, I think they're so lost in their own sauce right now that, like, they cannot see the light at the end of the tunnel, and they, like, desperately need someone to guide them to stop being the way they're being.
I made you heard my announcement about the money today, like,
Yeah.
And like I feel like, shit's happening in the city. The mayor should try to enable what is the right thing, right? A lot of warrant apprehensions, a lot of hags. So offer up money. I spoke with the two of the captains today, Redditch and Maxwell, and I was like, okay, well, like, what do you like? Because it was brought up in the meeting, like, oh, well, does it count based on the cuffs? And I'm like, huh? Like, what does that mean? Like, it didn't compute. So that's why I want to talk to them separately. Be like, wait, is this going to be complicated? Like, because I'm just thinking, whoever processes the warrant gets it, right? Simple, no?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Apparently, when the DOJ offered money up recently, cops were, I want to throw up saying this, were chasing after people and attempting to put the cuffs on.
Hold on. Are you talking about the most recent bounty board stuff?
Allegedly.
No, that didn't happen.
Okay, good. Or maybe it was.
Maybe
it was
absolutely no way that happened.
Okay, good.
That
maybe
must have been because
it might have
that's
been before
crazy.
That. Yeah, because the way they said it for sure. I don't know if it was this one or one previous, but I don't think they're lying either. So I don't know what the recent one even entails.
I'm sure that there's some validity behind that, or else it wouldn't be said. But that seems very that I have not seen that with my own eyes. I haven't heard those comms on the radio. If anything, I have heard from both sides, LSPD and BCSO, cuffing somebody and then handing that 95 over to somebody else. That has happened multiple times. I have never heard of the other thing happening.
Okay. All right. Because if I see that, I was literally wanting to throw up hearing this. I'm hoping it was weeks ago and not like recent shit. But I did ask them to monitor it. I let them know as an attorney, not trying to pat myself on my own back, but just to make the point, I think I am the longest tenured attorney in San Andreas.
I think so.
And hell, my name and Coop Holiday's name's on the docket template. It's that old. And I only use that to underline this, is that if they're playing games with like, hey, I got him in cuffs, it's mine. they're setting themselves up for a disaster if it's not like the scene lead in the originating offices. Because
so let me kind of put this in perspective for you.
Yeah.
With the Matthew Colby apprehension that we did.
It wasn't the Matthew Colby that they're talking about.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm using the Matthew Colby as an example. When I sat down all the officers and the deputies and asked them, like, hey, how are you guys wanting to do the bounty? Because like you all participated, they all unanimously agreed to just split it amongst themselves. There was no argument. So that's interesting to me. Now on the cuffing thing, I can tell you from at least when I was in LSPD, at that time, this also includes with BCSO as well, there was definitely a, if you cuffed the person, that is your 95. Like that was like a pretty hard thing. I've seen both departments loosen that up a bit of like, hey, if somebody is like, if you're not able to take them for whatever reason, like it wasn't I'll transport your 95 for you and then you'll have them, and you would just hand them over to somebody else. And it's been like that for months now. Yeah,
but what, can I ask why? For me, it doesn't compute, and I'll explain afterwards.
Which thinking, part?
Why do they do it so that if you cuff them, it's your 95?
I could not tell you. I think it's kind of silly.
It's strange, right? Because it's like, okay, imagine you and I are law enforcement and we see someone selling drugs over there, right? We're staking this out for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And now it turns into a 1.5 hour apprehension. I would full on expect, regardless of whether I'm in the department or not, that you and I are doing the processing and we are dictating whom we need to assist in said processing. For no other reason other than you and I have intimate knowledge of everything that's transpired during this op to who are the, just the whole scene, right? So we have the utmost ability to underline what the probable cause was, or the buildup from the RS to the PC, and I'm being left with the impression. Now, keep in mind, like I'm not a cop, right? So I don't see what's happening on the field. Is when I hear like kind of the notion of like, hey, if someone cuffs, it's mine. It's relating a lot of court cases and bench trials I go to, where very often I hear, well, I just cuffed them, I processed, but I don't know what happened. And I'm like, maybe that's why.
Oh, it's still like a common thing. I mean, I hear it on the radio all the time where somebody goes like, each way, either they're handed a 95 and they're being told to process this person, or they voluntarily take a 95. And then it's like, well, what happened? I joined late. What's going on? It's like, you shouldn't be taking somebody as your 95 if you do not have the knowledge of what the hell you're going to call wise. Like, if you don't know where things are originating from, you shouldn't be taking a 95. You do not know what is happening on scene, and that is where you're getting failed processing. That's where I would say, I haven't seen it yet, but I would go to the extreme of like, that's where you can see potential like rights violations. Like there's so many issues that stem from that because people just want to have the 95.
That's so, is it because this money shit?
I don't know. Because it happens for non-money shit too. Like this shit's been going on since I joined PD. Like it's been going on for a while.
You know what sucks? You know why the departments get money?
Isn't it from arrests?
Yeah, but you know why?
No.
I got pissed that BCSO used to farm LSPD budget account. I'm not even kidding. This isn't like, and you'll see why it's not me stirring. I originally ran for mayor of the state. Split county thing happened, right? And BCSO used to hang out down at Mission Row PD because at the time, the budget where a officer was is the county that used to get their money bled. Does that make sense? And so there was literally when you'd go to Mission Row PD, you'd see deputies just standing there. Not saying all of them, but enough of them. Enough that I could not actually balance the books. I had to drop down the payment down to $800. I'm not even kidding. It was so
Jesus,
bad.
Okay.
And so, like, what was I going to do? You know what I mean? So that's kind of where the, hey, stay in your lane and shit actually stemmed from. Is because we tried to have a reasonable conversation. Like, listen, like, you know, use the departments, but if you're just going to, like, idle paychecks, please do it up north. So I can pay people fairly. Eventually, it led to me and Soze talking. Soze personally witnessed it.
It's nuts.
It was so bad. And the next day, PD and Blaine County had their own bank accounts. But the way we had originally sort of spoke about it was the notion that it'd be nice if the successive arrests in the South led to the account in the South going up, right?
Right.
And vice versa. And that the high command could, you know, down the line, sort of like pay their individual officers based on maybe detectives get a certain amount, like based on their roles, you know what I mean? Their own like PD sliders. But, you know, as with most things, you know, we got a partial amount of the tool sort of with the expectation that people are going to function in good faith. You get what I mean by that?
Yeah.
Like,
bold to assume.
Well, I feel like it should be assumed that cops are not going to turn it into a video game, right? Where it's like, you know, let me get these people to get the money to upgrade my car. Because then it's like, I don't know. I'm not saying it's fully like that, but I think you understand the
I get where you're coming from, yeah.
Right? But anyways. Yeah, so I've been dealing with a lot of that shit. It's been a lot of nudging how to have communication and nudging and being like, hey, talk, you know, all of high command should talk together and like communicate. Friends are not more important than the city. Well, not like that, but like, you know what I mean? Like,
I get what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah. But
you took an oath to protect the city. That's what you need to be doing.
Exactly that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I'm gonna be honest with you, it's been a very struggle point with me coming to the marshals, is that I can't, there's the line for overstepping is so very thin.
Wait,
and
for what?
Well, so like from what I was told is that marshals now are moving in a direction of we're supposed to help support PD. We're there to give recommendations. Like, we don't really hold PD accountable for fuck all except if it's criminal, which I get.
Yeah.
The problem is that besides you, I don't see how PD is supposed to, for lack of a better term, get their head out of their own ass and have their own accountability of like, hey, maybe we're fucking up. Maybe we're doing something that is actually damaging to like our fellow officers. If there's nobody there to kind of push on them a little bit, not tell them what to do, but push. Less of a suggestion and more of like, this needs to happen. I need to see this happening.
Oh my God.
When is this happening? Like putting that pressure on them.
You and I are literally in the same mindset.
Like, don't get me wrong. I don't want to sit here and tell PD what to do. But when I have conversations with officers that tell me, well, we would really like to see the marshals do blah, blah, blah. Or we would like to do, like, we don't really know what the marshals do. And then I sit there like today and go, hey, if you have any questions or you have suggestions on how I can help you, come talk to me. And no one comes to talk to me. Then I'm like, okay, well, then you're fucked. I don't know what to tell you.
You're not the only one. I literally sit every day for the longest time. I'm like, hey, you know all those things that you're like, oh my God, your cars suck? I'm going to give you money for upgrades. Hey, we built a system for you on courtcenter.me. And if you've got an account, you get 30% off the upgrades. Like, I'll put out the state announcement, PD 30% off, 311s, 30% off. No one shows up. oh, you know, the hot gun stuff, or like, this is a problem, that's a problem. I can legislate it. And they're just like, eh. Like, even the most recent one, like, I saw some guy driving around fully blacked out tint, which is illegal, like, even as a cop. It changed when Conan Clarkson was a marshal 6 months ago. And I told him, like, you know that's illegal, right? And they're like, well, you know, you got to look away. I'm like, the balance is in the charge. It's a fine, right? But if you start ignoring small shit like that, then who gets to determine when law is and is not enforced? It's the law. That is the red line. And all you got to do, if you guys really want these blacked out tins, is ask me to make it legal for LSPD or officers down in the South. No one did it. It takes like 15 minutes to give me a piece of legislation. They won't do it.
No, you have to hold their hand for the. I tried to do I've been trying to do, granted we got Matthew Colby, thank God, but I've been trying to get an op together with TRT for a week and a half. And I finally put my foot down and said, hey, we're having a meeting for this. And, you know, TRT was like, hey, next time, like, could you give us a heads up? I'm like, yeah, I would love to. I've tried. But here's the thing is this is the only way that I can get everybody in a room together. So I'm sorry that you felt unprepared, but it got done. I don't bullshit. I'm not here to hold other people's hands. I'm not going to sugarcoat shit for you either. Like, that's not who I am as a person. So if I have to forcefully put people in a room to talk their shit, I will do that. Fuck, I did that when I was in the Lost. Like, people would go into a room. I'm like, we're talking this out. We're addressing this thing. Stop crying. Quit doing this shit. Yeah. And let's figure it out.
Yeah. 100%. You got to do it. Otherwise, it becomes an embarrassment. Like, I mean, it's
they're only hurting themselves. That's the thing, right? Is like they're just hurting themselves when like they just have to. There's so many bright minds in PD, and I will always say this. Like, there's so many bright minds in PD that have fantastic ideas on like how to continue to progress PD in a way that is actually beneficial for the city, but they just refuse to sit together and hear each other out.
Yes, that has literally been my misery for the last week and a half. I get like shade, like, oh my god, you know what? I'm just gonna fuck it.
Hit me with it. This is a safe bench.
Oh my god. Okay, I'm just gonna spill.
I'm here for it.
Maxwell has been the only reason the LSPD has been functioning in shift 1 to shift 2. I've been dealing with a member of high command that is literally a make-a-wish right now. Like, he might as well be in a medical bed, and refuses to communicate with any of the rest of the officers. We had situations where, like, there was a Hades got mag dumped at the end of a Fleeka.
Yep.
That call was made by a sergeant that wasn't on scene. A cadet called 78s. She said breach. I read the report. Why? Because they're suing, and they sent me the FOIA, you know?
They fucking should.
It's so bad. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, that's a sergeant that fucks around with this captain all day. And you know what the worst of it was? This guy, and I like him. In fact, I was even recommending the guy for S chief. And then all of a sudden, he can't speak English. He's saying welcome, right? Whatever. He's got a medical issue. You can't rely on him. It's fine. Like, you know, he's not a bad guy, but what the fuck?
Yeah.
And they're playing fuck shit in the midst of a crisis. I was getting phone calls saying, complaining about the PD, and they were talking about ambushing the PD nonstop. And they weren't the only group. I had to stop that from happening and say, let me handle this, do it the right way, bring it through the legal channels, right? This doesn't help anybody. And I'm telling you right now, they don't want to do this, right? But they feel like it's their only
That's the conversation I had with Ray. He came to the marshal's office with Kid about that whole entire thing. I told him, I was like, brother, listen, I know, like, I've been there. I know what it feels like to be pissed off at PD and wanting to just gun them down for being a bunch of fuckwits.
Yeah.
Trust me, you can fuck people so much harder in a legal sense than with a firearm. Like, trust me on this one. Get a lawyer.
Yes.
I told him over and over and over again, like, get a lawyer.
Yep.
ACR this shit. Sue them into the ground.
Yep.
Teach them they cannot do this.
Yeah, we were talking about the same situation then.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like, it's like, this doesn't help. All it does is it validates in their minds that you guys are the bad guys.
Yes.
Right? And it got worse. Later that evening, Ming walks out of a court case, winning a court case in with the PD shot up somebody. I don't remember who. Zebra. And didn't know whether or not he shot or whatever. Cypress jumps him, starts shooting at him. He gets on a roof and fires his gun at the person defending himself.
Okay.
Obviously, the weapon's illegal. It doesn't justify it, right? But he puts the weapon away, and he runs down the hospital steps and gets shot up by the PD. Now, this is one of those dicey situations. Should he have done all those things? No. But apparently, over the radio, someone stated that he's shooting at cops. And that justified shooting him down. Fair. I get called down pretty much being asked by PD collectively. They don't know what to do. I'm like, am I down here as a lawyer? Like, I don't know. Am I down here as the mayor? I don't know. You can go talk to Ming, though. And I'm just like, I feel weird right now because I don't even think I'm supposed to be down here. And why am I being asked to do like a command job? Romalo, after the court case, after losing the court case, because it turns out that nobody would step up and say that they called that Ming shot, Ming gets let off. And I think
wait, this was the Cypress shit, right? In like Little Seoul?
No, it was outside the courthouse. There's been a lot of shootings, so Romello tells me that he pushed the after the court case, they all told him that we didn't really want to push the charges. So Paul Romello said, I'm like, brother, why are you pushing the charges then? You're admitting to pressing charges in bad faith. And he's like, he pretty much just tells me in so many words that he feels pressured by a sergeant who said these charges should apply. And that the inference is that if you don't push them, you're doing it wrong. And I'm like, you as the officer pressing the charges need to be able to articulate the probable cause. And if you cannot like, what's the word? You can't get PC from another officer through like osmosis. Like, if someone else can articulate it, they need to be present. So I don't know. There's it's been bad. Oh. So all this shit happens, right? You got Make-A-Wish. You got, they're all refusing to want to promote Maxwell, despite it was a recommendation, right? By me. I'm like, listen, she's literally the only one that any of us can get a hold of. Ever. And if shit's popping off in the city, I can't wait 3 days to talk to high command if the city's on fire, right? The city can't work that way. They apparently discuss it and they all say no because she's a hothead. And it turns out that everyone that said no doesn't even see her. And so I'm sitting back and I'm like, how am I supposed to take this? Right? Is this like a logical decision or is this like an emotional one? And like, so am I supposed to sit here with absent high command and ones that are on medical leave for like 4 weeks? Not, man, when I say medical leave, like they're in the city operating literally impaired, right? Either with a tumor, with brain damage, with blindness, right? Causing scenes. There was a huge shooting at the court center because someone wanted to issue a ticket to a gang member in a town hall meeting of 80 people, right? Like, these are bad situations. Like, I don't know. And then they're doing promotions and not talking to each other, and then they get pissed at each other. And I'm just like, get in a fucking room and make a call.
Yeah, it is astounding to me. What I don't understand, and this has been the eye-opening thing for me with coming into PD in any capacity. How is it that criminal organizations can communicate better than a fucking police department? Like, I never had this issue with the Lost, ever. We never made decisions like that without all of command present. And like, we would make it a point to schedule meetings with each other. Like,
Yeah.
those things were never done without talking to each other. Day-to-day things were completely different. How in the fuck can criminal organizations do that shit better than a police department that has fucking structure?
There was they wanted to do a Hell Week down on the south side before some shit happened.
I wouldn't blame them.
And I organized a 5-gang meeting. They all showed up on time. And they scheduled a like a follow-up meeting 2 weeks later with the PD.
That is like the fucking criminals care more. It blows my mind.
Yeah.
This is why I'm so like hell-bent on, especially as a marshal, interfacing with other criminals as best as I can. Because it ain't gonna be my fault for marshals to get shot up. That's not gonna be on me, I'm gonna tell you that much.
Oh my god. Yeah, it's I feel like sometimes that PD has forgotten that they work for the people and that it is a what is it, like a privilege. Rather, I think once they are given that privilege, they feel like that it's theirs. Like they're owed it. They're owed their position, they're owed their rank, and that they cannot be held accountable. And it makes for a very odd dichotomy because it's hard not to often feel like they function as a gang, not as civil servants. Like I feel like even the phrase civil servant to them is seen egregious. Like it's like a bad word. Like it's meant like as if it means that people walk over them. No, it just means that your actions and your intents are meant to keep public safety up.
Yeah, again, that's the oath that they took. Like you recite an oath when you get full officer. Like you do that. And when you get promotions, you're also supposed to do that. Like it doesn't make any sense to me.
No.
And unfortunately who is going to hold them accountable? No one. No one right now is holding them accountable. It's a problem. I
will say it's why Turner's around. I asked him, I was thinking about offering him chief at one point. Actually, he was going to be chief 6 months ago. And then...
Really?
I would have loved that. For some reason, I think the email didn't go through, so he thought he thought... It was a whole thing. He thought what is it called? Like when you forget I left him on like answer or whatever. You know?
You left him on red?
On red, yes. I think the email didn't go through, or like maybe I don't know what happened. But luckily he came around. He's been a big help. He's been giving perspective, but oh boy, it's very validating. Me sitting back, not saying anything, and him listening in on the PD stuff and having a very similar opinion as mine. And trust me, I got a very, very different background than he does. And it's just I don't know.
I mean,
the fire did light something under their ass though, and I am going to keep I'm going to keep the pressure on. LSPD needs to advance and progress forward. Not on arrests, not on whatever, but like actually competency, you know? And
I really could not agree with you more, honestly.
Yeah. The reason I want to chat with you, I brought up the funeral yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm going to say some things, and this isn't coming from me, right?
Okay.
I don't want it like written down, no statements, my name not brought up.
No.
For obvious reasons.
This is a meeting between you and I. This is not police matter. That's the way I look at it. If it needs to turn into police matter, that's when you tell me, hey, I need to write a statement kind of thing. This is very different.
Okay. You aware that Edgar de Castillo is dead?
Allegedly, yes.
There's a photo shown at one of the PD meetings. I also am aware that there was a lot of PD over at the lighthouse The day before the photo was put up. Apparently, some cop noticed the lighthouse door was open. They walked inside.
Oh, good for them. Good.
Yeah.
Genius. Okay. Yeah, let's do that.
The reason I'm telling you these things is I know people play fuck games, so I want to make sure you know the things that are important like that. There's been a lot of cops going up to that lighthouse. A lot.
Yeah, it's not a good thing.
And there's a lot of diaries being left around. FIB documents.
Mm-hmm.
I was notified by somebody through a anonymous number that they found a FIB dossier out in the middle of nowhere. They mentioned in the grass fields in somewhere by the farmland up north.
Okay.
I've been aware of FIB-esque like folders and all kinds of things like that. I will say that there's probably a lot of different kinds. Some, let's say, authentic, perhaps some unauthentic. The one that I was told about, I believe it to be real. In fact, my intent was, because the individual that called me, whose name I can't say, because I want to see what they say next.
Totally fine.
They called me originally trying to sell it to me. I personally thought it was like maybe a rival, one of my rivals, like potentially trying to sell it and then like set me up or something. It was a very sus phone call, right? Because you can imagine, like, I've got this person calling me trying to sell me an FIB document. Like, it's just weird. I don't know him. I figured out who it was. They then told me the next day that it wasn't real, but I'm pretty sure it was. I know what I'm saying right now is a little odd, but I'm good at breaking down people's psyche. You know what I mean? The questions I asked, the way he was speaking, the way he changed his tune the next day, I believe it was real. I've also seen some FIB documents firsthand. It was over like a month ago.
Interesting.
Yeah. There was also an individual, and part of this was about this whole thing around this guy named the Whisperer. I don't know if you've ever heard of him.
No, I haven't. That's new information to me.
It was a doctor that called me up and said that he would execute Director Angel on my behalf.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he did a operation on her when she... The whole thing was she tweeted out, "Someone please kill me." Someone did. And the doctor that was operating on her was contemplating killing her. He gave me a call much after. He's dead now, by the way.
Okay.
Offered... I never met this guy. Just called... There was a lot of drama way back when. You know what I mean? But the reason I bring up his background is this guy at one point was dressed up as someone called the Whisperer and saying that he wanted people to break into the FIB building. And he had produced a bunch of, let's just say, literature that appeared to be FIB documents, but I don't believe they were ever real. So there has been a mix of those kind of documents, right, with what I believe to be legitimate documents. Am I kind of setting the tone here?
Yes.
The picture here? And keep in mind that this sort of stuff has been happening for like 4 months, and there's not really a good timeline because there's been a lot of pretend FIB with what might be real FIB. Story arcs mixing with each other.
Yeah. That's been a struggle.
Yeah. And so, especially when you hear things about the FIB, there probably are some active pretend FIB stuff multiple pretend FIB, I don't know what the fuck to call it, arcs? Let's just call them.
Yeah.
Mixed with like real ones. So,
interesting.
I have not told anyone else this. Primarily because I don't really trust a lot of cops to not fuck me. Does that make sense? Like, say, hey, Nino said this, and then all of a sudden my trust with the rest of the city goes away, right?
Which you can't have. That's very vital.
Yeah. I think it goes without saying I'm aware of these new warrants that went up with, you know, the whole SWAT of individuals, Jay Hobbs, Brandon Valentino, etc., etc. I'm aware he was at the White House, the lighthouse the day that, you know, Edgar died. I don't really know his relationship or whatnot. Me and Brandon, we go way back. He used to work for me as a driver about like 20 years ago.
Right.
I don't know what exactly he's got himself into. But if there's any thought that he's the one that killed Edgar, it would not be the case.
No, I don't believe that he is the one that killed Edgar.
Yeah.
I don't believe that PD have any idea who killed Edgar. From what I've gathered. And I would be, if they even try to push it on anybody who was at the lighthouse that now has warrants, I would tell those individuals that they should lawyer the fuck up. Because I may not know them very well, but from what I've seen, I would have a very hard time believing that any of the ones that were there were the ones that killed Edgar.
Is there any? Go ahead.
I had to. I don't say I had to, but I handled Brandon after all that. I was on scene for that, and he was very distraught, very distraught. I don't believe any of them killed Edgar.
Yeah. Is there anything any information you're interested in? And I want to preface
what happened
this,
to Edgar?
Big things. I'm trying to choose my words wisely here. My interest in giving information is anything that may threaten the state. Outside of that, I think it's small shit. You know what I mean? I'm sure the PD can figure out.
Yeah.
If you ever feel like there's something you are scratching your head on, don't hesitate to ask. I may not always be able to give the answer, because I have to think about my own safety. But I think over time, as trust grows, I'll be willing to say more, right?
I respect that.
Yeah.
I definitely have a head scratching thing I'm trying to figure out, but
Can't wait for our waxing session.
I don't know if it's something I'm ready to ask anybody for help on, if that makes sense.
Yeah. There's a lot of confusing shit happening right now.
Yeah. A
And
lot.
I think from the best I can see it, I think a lot of people are involving themselves instead of running away from danger. And it's making motives and the picture very complicated, as a lot of people's motives are not driven by anything other than boredom. So while there may be 2 primary actors, there's another 12 people in that cast because they just want to jump in the car.
Yeah.
So, you know, I know that's a bit riddle-ish, but I'm sure I think you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I can read between the lines on that one.
Okay.
I know my big thing right now is trying to understand motive for a couple, you know, big things that have happened in the city. So I feel like once I understand motive, then I start understanding who my target is. To start understanding my target, I can start predicting them. Right now, I don't understand motive.
Hopefully there is some.
I hope so. There's got to be some kind of manifesto of some kind, right? Everybody has a reason for doing something, right?
I will tell you what I told McNulty, and I told him not to tell anyone else. Edgar de Castillo shot me because he thought I convinced Tilly Winters that Edgar was going to kill her.
Interesting.
That's why I got rid of her from the office. Because she wanted to be a hang-around with 3-Pass. But Edgar, being the man that he is, you could tell him the sky is blue, and he'll write a whole story about how it's actually purple.
Yup.
And then convince himself that's the case. Well, he convinced himself, and this guy that I've known nothing about decided to shoot me over it. Now, if you're wondering why I didn't assist with the police, because I knew assisting the police would just mean that this psycho would just use it as an excuse to do it again.
Oh, absolutely. Without hesitation, he'd do it again.
Yeah. Well,
shit, he fucking attempted to execute me at the lighthouse for I don't know what reason still.
Huh.
Yeah, literally no reason. I just happened to be there and he decided that executing me right then and there was the reason. And then he died the next day, so. Sorry, not the next day, 2 days later.
Oh, shit. Well.
Hello?
I got no sympathy, if I'm going to be honest.
Oh,
He's hurt a lot of people. You know, maybe Norman Bones isn't all that bad.
That's what I keep telling people. I respect the guy.
I feel like he's a stupidity check in San Andreas.
100%. Absolutely. If you're dumb enough to swim across the fucking water to the lighthouse, that's on you. That's natural selection.
Yeah. Hey, let me go run after Death.
You know.
Oh, Death is over there? Oh, yeah, let me go over there. Let me have a chat with the guy. Yeah, fucking smart idea.
Yeah, let me go have a cigarette with the man real quick.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you.
You know, fucking, you know, I feel like it's easier just playing traffic if that's the goal. You know?
Yeah, I feel like if I go play Frogger right now behind us, I'd have a better chance of getting across the highway than talking with Norman Bones.
All right. Well, I appreciate the time, Oshiera.
Yeah, of course. Anytime.
All right. Okay. If there's anything I can do to help with whatever, like, you know, even when it comes to, I told this to Arcadia and Faulkner. If the LSPD is giving you like grievances, like, you know, please do keep me in the loop because they need to be working with the marshals closely, you know?
I think that's a struggle that I'm finding now. It's something that I want to talk to Arcadia, but I think it's one of those things that I can't, how do I word this? I can't talk to her about it in the city. I think it's gonna have to be like an emails kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm a lot of officers and a lot of deputies are in not so many words are asking me, why are the marshals not doing anything about X thing happening in PD as a whole? And I'm like, I can't. That's not what we do anymore.
What is the thing that they're trying to do?
They want people to be held accountable. They want actual oversight, even though they got pissed off about having actual oversight beforehand.
No, that's not going to happen.
And I know.
Yeah. I will say those individuals need to read the Constitution and the powers. The way that they hold accountability is that they file an ACR or they talk to their high command.
Hello?
And if their high command is not taking proper action, that high command is the one that should get ACR'd. Alternatively, they go to their respective mayors this is why I kind of bring this up, is that if there are detrimental things taking place, I will demand of the LSPD that they take action. If they do not, as a standing mayor, as the one responsible for this public service, I will see it as a dereliction of duty and a replacement. For the time being, if it's anything else, I would recommend, I would set up a meeting with Radich and Maxwell. I think that's a good start.
Oh, I mean, I know at some point, and I don't know when this is going to happen or how it's going to happen, the marshals are supposed to be having a meeting with High Command for BCSO and LSPD. I don't know if it's going to be together or separately to discuss what the marshals are here for. Should be a great time to also talk about this. I don't know when this is happening because it's trying to find times for everybody is challenging. I'm the only marshal for side of the storm, so
it's kind of scary, even with what you said. Like, if they see a problem, why aren't they saying anything? Like, I don't understand.
I have told them to do ACRs. I have told them to go to their high command. I have told them to do these things. I have given my recommendations on things to do. I mean, I've given, I had Kit talk to me about some really disgusting things that, Ventura was saying to her. And I brought it to Ratch. I was like, listen, I can't tell you what to do, but this is my recommendation. Do with it as you will.
It's got to see public
in my lane,
light. Yeah. And because the danger otherwise, and this is what we saw before, this is before your time, is that the marshals were being used as not in good faith, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is not what they should be used for at all.
Yeah. It became
we
like
should be guidance more than anything.
Guidance, exactly. Or the ace. Oh my God. Hearing this. Was there any LSPD people?
I'm sure there was, and I don't remember, to be honest with you.
Oh my God.
The amount of people I have that fucking talk to me about shit is insane.
Why do people just not be lazy and just, an ACR is so easy?
I wish I had the answer for you.
I've contemplated doing something below an ACR called, actually we talked about this.
Yeah, like basically like a court of public opinion.
Exactly, like a hearing. Yeah, like very lightweight, and if it's big enough, then it can turn into an ACR. It generates the potential evidence needed. Okay. Well,
you just need people willing to do that, and I think that there's a lot of walking on eggshells as far as PD is concerned, like as a whole. Nobody wants to talk to each other. They would rather just like bitch behind closed doors about their own like interpersonal nonsense or like cross department nonsense, and they just want to talk about it. And then they come and bitch to me about like so and so did blah, and I'm like, cool, ACR.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you.
Laziness. I think it's confrontation issues. People don't want 100%. Confrontation.
Hello?
I think it's also a matter of people don't know how to handle confrontation in a positive way. I feel like the word confrontation has such like a negative connotation to it that they don't understand how to sit there and be told, hey, I have a problem with this thing you did. And then being able to say like, okay, can you explain to me a little bit more? Can you elaborate on like, how did this like affect you? Like, why is this such a big deal for you? Okay, this is how I apologize that this affected you the way it did. Like nobody's willing to have that. I mean, I did it with Aaron Carter. Her and I think I told you about it. Her and I had like a small tiff. And I straight up told her, like, I did not intend to do that. I'm so sorry. I apologize. It was not my intention. I will do this moving forward. And her and the two people that were with me quieted down so quickly because I don't think anybody is used to having somebody sit there and be like, yeah, I'll own my shit. I'm sorry that I hurt your feelings. I'm sorry that I did something that upset you. It's crazy how owning your shit just like shuts down a room.
Yeah, no, you are 1,000% correct. I do think some of it, without going into specifics, I've had to help a lot of people with confrontation, and I'm gonna be very careful with my words. It's very difficult to have confrontation in San Andreas because two people's argument can be hyperanalyzed beyond the two people.
Yes. Very much so.
Yeah. So
And that's where things get very complicated.
Yeah. All right.
I'll start bringing you people that, well, not bringing you. I'll start flagging things that come across my desk of issues.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
All right.
I'll keep you updated on that. That way
All right.
you are aware.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah.
Hello?
All right.
Yeah.
Oshiera, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, of course. Anytime at all.
Hell yeah.
Anytime you need me, I'm
All
a
right.
phone call away.
Easy. You take care.
You too.